Hello guys and welcome back. Today I'm going over my thoughts on a mod for Borderlands 1 that adds a new playable character to the game. This mod has been out now for a while, but obviously this is only for PC players as this is a mod, because it will break your terms of service for PlayStation and Xbox. And just in general, you probably don't want to go back to Borderlands 1 because it's only on last gen consoles. But with that, let's get right into it. So this modded character's name is Blitz the Shock Trooper, and he was created by YouTuber Nola FTW, or Nola for the win, and has been around for a few years-ish, but I don't think it has received enough recognition for what it is, and the community really needs to see this. But with the recent acceptance of the community patch for Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel, I thought it was the right time to bring this mod back into at least my community's eye. So for this mod, you will need Willow Tree, which is the free modding software, and it's super easy to install. It's free. I'll link Willow Tree in the description below, along with the Dropbox for the character, which are the two things you'll need if you want to play this. Once you download the character, there's a README file, which will go through all the steps you'll need to download it and install the character. Even if you don't have any mods on Borderlands 1, it will take you through 6 or 7 steps and you'll be all set up and you can jump right in. I downloaded this character today, but it has been on my radar for a while now, and I've always wanted to make a video on it after seeing Nola's video, where he switched the camera angle to third person, and you can really see the model, how it's reskinned Roland or Brick. It's definitely worth a watch, his original video, and since he's the creator, gotta show him some love. As I mentioned before, he is a reskinned Roland for the most part, but just from looking at the character model, you shouldn't be able to tell. His dialogue is also modified Brick audio. The voice isn't distorted, but it does sound different enough, but in a good way. Also, when the character is loaded into the game, in your inventory there will also be options to add a mohawk onto the character, as well as a backpack type thing. Just all visual aesthetic things. They come as consumables, but you really can't see your character unless you're driving, going in to fight for your life, and a few other situations. But sometimes you can see the mohawk in your field of view, or if you're playing with other people. So it's just a nice touch. It really builds out the character. And the mohawk and backpack, you also, along with them, you get the remover version of them. They come as health consumables. That's the icon they decided to use for this. They'll take up 4 spots in your inventory, but don't worry about it. Nola did take this into consideration when making the mod and did expand the backpack space as soon as you spawn in. So you will be able to go past the limit, I think 4 spots, maybe a few more. Now, I'll break down all the skills added for Blitz, and it will make sense that his action skill is similar to Roland, but so much more valuable. I'll go over all the skills and then stick around for my final thoughts and experiences with the character as well. Or you can actually just skip ahead if you just want to hear about my thoughts and don't really care about the skills yet. But let's get into that. So the first skill that you have to pick up is called Auto Turret, which says gain the ability to deploy an automated turret that automatically fires at enemies. This turret has 360-degree targeting, the cooldown is 100 seconds, and the duration is 20 seconds. Just a few things to know, I won't do this for all of them, but 360 targeting is amazing and something that Roland's original turret did not have. And Blitz's turret is also automatic, which means no burst fire, which is also really good. So first we'll go through the infantry tree, or all the way to the left. The first skill is Impulse, which increases bullet damage with all weapon types and also increases shock damage. It gives plus 3% bullet damage per point and plus 5% shock damage per point. Then we'll go over to High Voltage, which increases turret damage. Turret projectiles now have a chance to deal shock damage at plus 7% turret damage per point and plus 10% shock damage chance. Then we'll go over to Metal Storm. Killing an enemy increases your rate of fire and reduces recoil for a few seconds. It gives plus 10% fire rate and plus 15% recoil reduction per point. Then we'll move over to Scatter Shock. It increases your shotgun's projectile count. Also, you have a chance to shock enemies when you deal damage to them while wielding a shotgun, which means you're melee. This gives +1 shotgun projectile per point and plus 20% chance to shock. Then we'll move down to Short Circuit. Receiving shock damage or dealing shock damage to an enemy reduces the cooldown of your Scorpio turret. This effect can only occur every 2 seconds. Cooldown reduction per hit is 1 second per point. Next is Amplify. When you deal shock damage to an enemy, you have a chance to double the damage done to that enemy for 7 seconds, and it gives plus 10% chance per point. Then we move down to the capstone of the infantry skill tree, and it says, it's a long way to the top. After getting a kill, you gain increased damage and movement speed for each successive kill within 7 seconds of the previous. You will receive a greater bonus up to 10 kills. So you'll get plus 2% damage and movement speed per kill per point. And once you hit the 10 kill, you'll get a bonus that negates shield recharge delay and lasts 20 seconds. And that's everything for the infantry skill tree. Now we'll move over to support. The first skill is Direct Current. It decreases your shield recharge delay and increases enemy shield recharge delay. So for each point, you get minus 10% player shield recharge delay and plus 20% enemy shield recharge delay for any enemy that has a shield. Then if we move over to Generator, players near your turret have a 15% chance to have their shot cost reduced. For each point, you get up to -1 shot cost. Then we'll move down to Gatling Gun. It increases the fire rate of your turret. Your fire rate is increased during your action skill. So for each point, you get plus 10% turret fire rate and plus 7% player fire rate. And remember, once again, your turret is automatic, so fire rate is a really big deal for it. Then we'll go over to Alternating Current. After killing an enemy, if your shield is full, you gain health regen. If your health is full, you gain shield regen. If both are full, you and your allies gain a damage boost. For each point, you get plus 2% shield or health regen per second, and plus 5% overall damage if your shield and health are full. Then we move down to Discharge. It increases grenade damage. You have a chance to cause a shock nova on kill, and killed enemies may drop extra grenade ammo. For each point, you get plus 3% grenade damage and plus 20% explode and grenade drop chance. Then we'll go over to Calibrate, which increases your turret's cooldown rate, accuracy, bullet velocity, rotation speed, and duration. For each point, you get plus 20% cooldown and plus 2 second turret duration, along with your turret accuracy, bullet velocity, and rotation speed are tripled. Now if we go down to the capstone, you'll be at Thunderstruck. Your turret fires bolts of lightning at players and enemies. These will regenerate allies' ammo and confuse enemies. For each level, you can reduce the time it takes for 2 lightning bolts to shoot. So you start at 2 lightning bolts every 5 seconds, but you can get that down to 2 lightning bolts every 1 second. And that's everything for the support tree. Next, we'll move over to the medic tree. The first skill we'll talk about is Retreat. It increases your movement speed and reduces your shield recharge delay based on your current percentage of health. The lower your health, the greater the bonus. Per point, you get up to plus 20% movement speed and up to minus 12% recharge delay for your shield. Then right next to that will be at Aegis. Allies near your turret regenerate health. Adds a bubble shield to your turret. So it regenerates plus 1% health per second, and for each point you put in, it moves up 1 more. Then we'll go down to Defib. It increases melee damage and adds shock damage to your melee attacks. Your melee attacks will instantly revive allies. You get plus 15% melee damage per point. Then we'll go down to Advanced. It increases your magazine capacity and reload speed based on your current percentage of health. The higher your health, the greater the bonus. So per point, you get up to plus 15% magazine size and reload speed. Then moving down one, we're at Lightning Rod. Shock attacks now cause negative damage to you. So for each point, you get minus 105% received shock damage. Then we go to Energizer. When your shield is depleted from full, or you kill an enemy, your movement speed increases and you have a chance to activate a shock core. For each point, you get plus 10% movement speed and 5% shock core chance per point. Then we go down to Live Wire, which is the capstone of the medic tree, which is Live Wire. On-kill health regen for you and nearby allies. When you are down during your action skill, you have a chance to automatically rejuvenate with 60% health and your action skill ready. For each point, you get plus 7% health and 10% revival chance, which is really nice. Overall, those are all the skills. Some are better than others, but for the most part, they're all very strong, and you will be very overpowered, which is already pretty normal for Borderlands if you consider all the characters, but it is a nice change of pace to have an elemental character, especially with Shock. It makes it super strong and you don't have to switch weapons too often. And the character's turret also feels worthwhile, or at least for me, being at lower levels, it never dies, it's very strong, it's really good. So now let's get into my experience. So when you spawn in, it will take a few seconds, and at first I thought my game had crashed and I had done something wrong, but it actually just takes a few moments to load in and get everything figured out in the game. And after that, it's been a super quick boot up time. I've never had any wait for the character after the first time. So you will start at Firestone instead of right off the bus, and you'll be at level 1. So you will be a tad underleveled, but you will still start with 2 weapons and should be able to fight through a few side missions, and you shouldn't be in too much trouble. And when you start playing and get your action skill, you should be pretty strong. I love having the turret be able to target 360, and it has a ton of health. It has gone against bosses, and the turret does not die from them. Its duration will just run out, which is super nice. It feels really strong and feels worthwhile for what it is. I'm about 4 or 5 hours in, so I'm not at end game. I don't know his full potential, full strength, but his turret feels very strong. I wish it had a longer duration. Also, the shock element is crazy strong in this game. I never really thought about it because fire and corrosive are usually what everyone looks at and what's so good. And if you can't get fire or corrosive, you get mashers or anarchies. But he really made me love shock, and it has me now trying to find shock items, which I never did before. So I found one shotgun, and it's actually been really good. It's not a traditional pellet shotgun. It fires one almost grenade rocket type bullet. Scatter shock, it adds extra projectiles, and each one's almost like a shot grenade. And that has carried me through so many bosses, and I've been really strong, and it made me fall in love with this character. One thing I do have to note is that artifacts do not work for the turret, which means you cannot attach an element like fire, corrosive, shock, or explosive. Nova mentioned that he might have added it in later, but that was a year ago now, so I wouldn't expect too much. And it's also not really needed. The turret is so strong, and once you get down in one of the skill trees, you will get where it can shoot out electricity, so it kind of covers for it. And you really don't need the electricity to break shields and then have a fire turret. That'd be even so much overpowered, it'd be so strong, and really unnecessary, a little bit of overkill. Also, the skill tree part, yes, you can still see Roland on it, he's visible, but that's just an AI issue, and really it'd be too hard to fix and put in this new character model, so you're just gonna have to deal with that, and it really shouldn't bother you. And the last thing I'll mention is that Roland class mods will work. They did not change the names of the skills that the class mods will boost down below, but they will still buff the skill that's in the same place on the skill tree. For example, if you had a +3 for the Grenader skill for Roland, it will buff +3 discharge to Blitz. So just know that if you do want boot in and you're wondering if it's worth picking up, or which ones you should pick up. So definitely look at skills, look at which one it relates to. So you might have to have Roland skill tree up or double check that. But other than that, this is awesome. I highly recommend you guys download it and try it out. It's a lot of fun and brings a lot of new life into the game. kind of like what the community patch did, but it gives you a whole nother character to play around with, to have a lot of fun with. Also, go check out Nova. I'll link all his stuff down below. His Twitter, YouTube. I know he's not too active anymore, but that could change. Or even just go show some support. Go watch his video. Go give it a thumbs up. Just let him know that he did awesome with this, and the community really likes it. And also, if you guys like this video and want me to do more modded content in the future, probably for Borderlands 1, I'm still behind on the community patch for Borderlands 2, but I'll get to that eventually. But for Borderlands 1s, there are maps, a lot of new bosses, areas, and just so much more that I could cover if you guys want to watch it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and see you guys in the next one.